Going into the summer, Arsenal have quite a few priorities, with central midfield definitely being one. Wolves' Ruben Neves looks to be a standout target. So what update do we have today on him and Leicester City's Youri Tielemans? Do Barcelona want to sign Gabriel? What's the latest on the Gunners' pursuit of a new striker? And what's Granit Xhaka revealed about his Arsenal future? Yo, what is going on, guys? My name is Babs14. Welcome back to your boys channel, and today we are back again with all of that Arsenal news. So if you enjoy, smash a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new, because we are so close to 80k. But we've got quite a few things to talk about, so let's get straight into this. And starting off with all of the latest Arsenal transfer news. And let's talk about the central midfield position, a very important position that Arsenal still need to address. Because as things stand, if you look at the Arsenal midfield, it's starting to look very light. Thomas Partey is out with an injury, Granit Xhaka has been forced to play as a left back, and Albert Sambi Lukonga, while has a lot of potential, still looks pretty raw at this current period of time. With Mikel Arteta now also transitioning into that full 3-3, it's time that Arsenal find a better box-to-box number 8 type of profile. Now Arsenal fans have quite a few names that we want to see Arsenal sign, but in terms of Arsenal, who is going to be their top transfer targets? Well, according to Sky Sports News in the UK, Ruben Neves is emerging as one of Arsenal's top summer transfer targets. Wolves value Neves at between 50 to 60 million pounds. Is it Ruben Neves? Is it Ruben Neves? I think he's a player who's a decent little player. Is he more importantly the player that Arsenal should be signing? Well, let's talk about the age profile first. Just turned 25 years of age, and as your boy loves to say on this channel, entering the peak of his powers, this seems to be the type of profile age-wise that Arsenal are looking to add to the current team. And it makes a lot of sense why we've signed so many young players over the last transfer windows that Arsenal now need just a little bit more experienced players that are ready-made, that have Premier League experience, and in that category, certainly Ruben Neves fits the bill. But he's also a player that Arsenal have had long-term interest in. He's a player that Mikel Arteta wanted to sign last summer, but with Granit Xhaka staying, Arsenal were unable to get a deal over the line. But now that he has only 2 years left on his Wolves contract, and more importantly his agent in Jorge Mendes, if you're to go back to when Neves signed for Wolves in the first place, when they were still in the Championship, and Neves was actually captaining a Champions League team like Porto, the reason behind that was Jorge Mendes. And the idea of Neves going to Wolves in the first place, despite being so highly rated, was that in the long term, if a big club like Arsenal were to come calling, they would make a transfer happen just like that. The prime example of this, of course, is Diogo Jota at Wolves. He thrived for Wolves in the Premier League for quite a few seasons, and then when Liverpool came knocking, Jorge Mendes made the deal happen. But as these stats show, Ruben Neves is a very important player for Wolves, and he's a player that excels when it comes to all of the passing metrics, whether that's passes into the final third, or more importantly, accurate long passes per 90. If Mikel Arteta wants a player that is capable of making switches and long passes, Ruben Neves is your guy, averaging 14 long passes per game in the Premier League this season per 90 minutes. That is the highest out of any other player in the Premier League. But the fact that he's played as a number 6 but has also scored 4 goals and got 2 assists, it says that in the final third, Ruben Neves is able to also maybe have an impact as well. And why that's very important is because Arsenal don't need a number 6 type of profile. Mikel Arteta wants a long-term replacement for Granit Xhaka as that hybrid box-to-box number 8. But when you compare the profiles of Ruben Neves and Granit Xhaka, some fans might say they're very similar players. But for a price tag of 50 to 60 million pounds, talk to me down below in the comments about Wolves' Portuguese international Ruben Neves. Is he a player that you guys would like to see Arsenal sign? But talking about Premier League central midfielders, what about Leicester City's Youri Tielemans? Well, according to Ben Jacobs of CBS Sports, Arsenal and Manchester United are continuing to pursue Youri Tielemans, who is valued at 25 million pounds. There is no truth in links to Liverpool. Youri Tielemans for 25 million pounds, if that price tag is to be believed, which does make a lot of sense because he's only going to have 1 year left on his contract and Leicester are going to need to sell. That is half the price tag of a Ruben Neves, and one could argue that Tielemans is even potentially a better player than Ruben Neves in the long term. The Belgium international is now 24, has a vast amount of Premier League experience, and if you're talking about more of a box-to-box type of profile going forwards, being more incisive, and here are his stats for the season. Tielemans is a player that quite obviously has many facets to his game, but more importantly, those progressive passes per 90 is where he excels. But Arsenal wants a box-to-box type of number 8, a player that when it comes to the defensive phase is able to be held accountable. And with Youri Tielemans, one could argue, does he have the engine to play as a box-to-box role? But then again, if he is available for 25 million pounds, is he a risk Arsenal should be taking? Ruben Neves versus Youri Tielemans, which out of those two players would you prefer to see Arsenal sign? Keeping it on the midfielders, according to Lee Ryder, a Newcastle reporter, Arsenal and Newcastle United are monitoring Lucas Piquette of Lyon. Lucas Paqueta, a Brazilian international player thriving for Lyon in Ligue 1, and out of all of the other players that we've discussed so far, Paqueta is definitely the most attacking option as that number 8, scoring 9 goals and getting 7 assists across Ligue 1 and Europa League games this season. The fact that he's also 24 means he suits up with Arsenal's age profile requirements, but he's also more importantly a left-footed player, and that might be a very important thing for Mikel Arteta, who likes to have balance in his team. The fact that Granit Xhaka of course is a preferred left-footed player playing on the left-hand side gives him a massive advantage, and that dynamic of his left foot, Martinelli's right foot and the left foot of Chiellini seems to be a very good Arsenal team dynamic, and that is where Lucas Paqueta becomes a very interesting option. But also more importantly, he has 3 years left on his current Lyon contract. This guy's a full Brazilian international, a player that I'm sure is going to excel at the World Cup, having also just sold Bruno Guimaraes. Will Lyon do business once again to sell one of their key midfielders? We're going to have to wait and see. But what do you guys make of Lucas Paqueta, and is he a player that you guys would like to see Arsenal sign? Granit Xhaka has spoken in an exclusive interview saying, "I will give everything while I'm at this football club. I've always said that. I didn't renew my contract only to enjoy my time here. I want to achieve something with this club, something special." Now with Granit Xhaka, a lot of Arsenal fans have this idea, having signed that 1-year contract extension that was only for a short-term period of time, and come this transfer window he might want to move once again and go to the Serie A and sign for Roma. But him coming out and saying categorically that he wants to stay at Arsenal, he still loves Arsenal and wants to achieve special things here, squad depth going forwards is going to be very important. Whether we're in the Champions League or dare I say the Europa League, if Arsenal want to compete on all fronts, if we have squad players, the capabilities of Granit Xhaka, it gives Arsenal the elite squad depth and the squad rotations that we require to be a top team. So even though at times Granit Xhaka isn't the darling of the Arsenal fans, let's not lie about it, Xhaka still remains a very important player for Arsenal this season. But what do you guys make of Granit Xhaka, and is he a player that you want to see Arsenal keep in the long term, potentially as a squad option? According to The Sun, Darwin Nunes prefers a move to Arsenal, Liverpool or Spurs over Manchester United. His camp also do not see Manchester City as a perfect fit for him. But looking at those options there, first things first, I don't see him as a Liverpool type of signing. Looking at Tottenham Hotspur, they've got Harry Kane there. Unless they would have sold Harry Kane, I don't see Darwin Nunes going there to play as a backup player. Let's face the facts, Man City are going to sign Erling Haaland. But apart from that, in the race to sign Darwin, I think keep an eye on Chelsea, Man United and obviously Arsenal. Darwin himself today was on the score sheet once again in the Champions League, going to Anfield, making it 3-3. But now that Benfica have been knocked out of the Champions League, the fact that he thrived in that competition, now that Darwin has a taste of the Champions League, I'm sure he wants to remain there. And so that's why for Arsenal, if we want to sign this top outlet type of striker, a player that is so in demand from top teams around Europe, it is vitally important that we secure that Champions League footy. But talking about strikers, here are the Premier League strikers this season and the link-up play passes per 90. And looking at that top right-hand corner, those are the top link-up strikers in the Premier League. Of course, no surprises, Harry Kane's there. You've got Firmino, Jota, Iheanacho, Joao Pedro, but you also have Brentford's Ivan Toney. Ivan Toney seems to be a player that a lot of Arsenal fans are now starting to think about and look at him and go, can he be a player, a future player for Arsenal Football Club? And to the fans that argue that Toney hasn't scored enough goals, but as it stands, Ivan Toney is actually tied with Harry Kane and Cristiano Ronaldo for goals in the Premier League this season, with 12 goals in the Premier League this season, missing only 2 big chances, while the other 2 have missed 16 big chances each. Those strikers have also scored quite a few penalties, so you can't really argue about that. And in fact, most top strikers score penalties anyways. But the fact that he's only missed 2 big chances, it just goes to show that Brentford don't give him enough chances in the first place. But despite of the lack of chances, he has still scored 12 league goals, which makes that even more impressive. But as you guys have also just seen, he's also one of the best link-up players in the Premier League. He's capable of dropping down deep, playing passes in behind. The more that I look at Ivan Toney, the age profile, the Premier League experience, by a lot of people, Ivan Toney might be seen as a very smart potential signing. And finally, according to Goal España, if Atletico Madrid don't qualify for the Champions League, Jorge Mendes will push Joao Felix's departure this summer. Now as of today, Atletico have just been knocked out of the Champions League, and as things stands in the league campaign, they sit in 4th place with 31 games played on 57 points, but remain only 1 point ahead of 5th place Real Betis. But even if Atletico make it, I still could see Joao Felix leaving Atletico in this summer transfer window. And watching him play in the 2 games against Man City, I think he's being held back by Diego Simeone. And as effective as Atletico's style of football is for them, I just don't think it suits what Joao Felix requires. But here's the most important thing here. If Arsenal don't get Champions League footy, forget about Joao Felix. This is a player that is seen as a generational striker by so many people, but he only becomes available for Arsenal if we secure that UCL footy. Just like with Darwin Nunes and Joao Felix, if Arsenal want to sign these top caliber type of strikers wanted by so many top European clubs, you need to be in the top European competition. It is now over to Arsenal Football Club. Okay, let's move on to the Arsenal team news. In terms of Partey and Tierney, those guys are confirmed out for the next game, but even in terms of Takehiro Tomiyasu, he was not involved in the group training session today for Arsenal, with Alexandre Lacazette also absent. In terms of Tomiyasu, I'm not really surprised there because Arsenal already have confirmed that he will return to training after a game against Southampton. But the issue there for Arsenal is we have a game in the midweek, and that's Chelsea away, which is then followed by Man United at home at the Emirates next Saturday. So games are coming thick and fast, so is there really any time for Tomiyasu to come back in the training, recover his match sharpness, and make his way back into the Arsenal starting lineup? I have my massive doubts. I am praying, I am hoping that Takehiro Tomiyasu can rise like the Undertaker and help save Arsenal's season. But more importantly, also Alexandre Lacazette absent in Arsenal training. We're not sure if it's an injury, if it's an illness or something else, but he's not been in the best of form, and going into that Southampton game, a lot of Arsenal fans are asking for him to be dropped. But Lacazette's poor form has been pretty evident, and these stats prove that. Since the start of March, Lacazette is now shooting less, he's not averaged a single shot on target, his shot creating actions are down, and he's also getting dispossessed more often during the 90 minutes. The player is quite clearly bang out of form, so now Mikel Arteta needs to adapt his tactics. We don't have a top striker in the making sitting on the bench, but we do have a certain Eddie Nketiah. Here's how Arsenal were lining up during the forward drills, with Martinelli on the left wing, Saka right wing, Nketiah as a striker, and Smith and Odegaard playing in behind. That doesn't necessarily confirm anything, but the fact that Arteta threw on Eddie Nketiah in the last game at the 56th minute, threw him on so early, for me, I wouldn't be surprised if Arteta was to give Eddie Nketiah a start against Southampton. So now Mikel Arteta needs to shuffle his packs, and he needs to now find a brand new solution. What do you guys think that needs to be? Is it Eddie Nketiah starting over Lacazette? Is it Gabriel Martinelli as a striker? Is it, dare I say, Emil Smith-Rowe starting as a false nine? Going into the game against Southampton, who do you want to see start as Arsenal's centre forward? Moving on to the other Arsenal news today, and starting off with Arsenal's Brazilian centre back in Gabriel Magalhães, because according to Chris Wheatley, Barcelona are interested in signing Gabriel Magalhães, and he is at the top of the list for a left foot centre back, Football London understands. Arsenal are aware of the situation, however, they are not expected to entertain offers, and even according to Sport, Arsenal and Barca have discussed player swaps, with names such as Neto, Memphis Depay and Ricky Puig being discussed. Swap deals are a massive bid. I don't think Arsenal are going to sell Gabriel Magalhães. Not only is he a massive part of this Arsenal defence, but more importantly, how rare left-footed ball-playing centre-backs are in the current top 5 leagues. He signed to a long-term contract, he loves life at Arsenal, and even though he still has improvements to be made, at just 23 years of age, I fully expect him to make those. But what do you guys make of Barcelona's interest in Gabriel Magalhães? And if it came down to you, would you entertain any offers, and if so, for what price tag? And finally, according to George Bird, Lino Sosa and Mika Birov trained with the Arsenal first team ahead of the Southampton clash. This was actually confirmed by Arsenal themselves, who have recently posted a training clip which you can clearly see Lino Sosa and Mika Birov taking part in. Birov is a centre forward, but more importantly, Lino Sosa as a left back, with the reports claiming that Arteta has been pretty impressed by him. I've seen a few Arsenal fans call for Lino Sosa to start, but do you guys really think, logically speaking, Mikel Arteta will throw in a 17-year-old who has never played a single minute of senior football straight into the deep end of Arsenal's most important part of the season when he already has a first team left back in Nuno Tavares? For me, Mikel Arteta needs to keep it simple and to not overthink. But what do you guys make of the Arsenal left back situation, and what do you think the solution needs to be? Is it starting Nuno Tavares? Is it starting Granit Xhaka there, Bukayo Saka there, dare I say? Or would you give a start to 17-year-old Lino Sosa? But that is the video there and there, so hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. If you have, make sure to go down there and smash a like, and also do subscribe to the channel if you are new. If you would like to follow your boy on them social medias, then the links will be down below in the description. But that was all of the latest Arsenal news today. I hope you guys have enjoyed as always, and now for Arsenal, the game on Saturday is looming. 3 PM kickoff, Southampton at St Mary's. I know they lost 6-0, but it's still not going to be easy. We'll see what happens. Until then, take care, see you later, and in a bit.